He loves the poorly educated because the poorly educated are not aware. We're distracted by reality shows, sports, entertainment. So if that keep you distracted, you're distracted from the real issues that are really going on. Like this bill passed, and all I saw on my social media timeline was Puff Daddy stuff, Diddy or whatever. I don't care about that. Diddy don't affect me. What he did was highness.
I'm Nicole Brown. Welcome to Around the District. We're continuing our discussion with Cedric Collins here to one of our educators here in Arizona. Cedric, question for you:
Yes.
the big ugly bill that was just passed by the United States Congress. Tell me what your thoughts are. Like, what's the impact on as an educator in high school? What's the impact locally, nationally? What's your opinion on that?
Well, first of all, the fact that it has a name like that, we know the name. That sounds so uneducated and unprofessional, right? Like for it to be labeled that, like I don't even think it has a number. You know how most bills have a number, HB, whatever, SB. I don't even think this has a number associated with it. But um, if to my knowledge, there's $6.8 billion that's going to be frozen throughout the entire nation. That's supposed to be given to public schools. Um, this this is not the first time this has happened. I mean, this is the first time it's happened to this magnitude, especially uh, pre-social media era. I mean, yeah, we had social media back then when this had happened before, but social media is not what it is now, so it's spreading. But I remember, me and some of my teacher colleagues, we call this the yellow slip era back in 2008, 2009, where a lot of teachers were laid off due to lack of funding and educational cuts. A lot of us got received a yellow slip. If you received that yellow slip, that means your job was being cut or furloughed. And it's something I remember some districts even asking teachers to teach without being paid. And I'm like, no.
That's interesting when they're looking for teachers like
Right.
consistently. That
Right. That was back then,
yeah.
and they cut, and of course those classes that were cut were electives, the arts, the PEs, the schools that had wood shop and things of that nature. And those things are important because everybody learns differently, right? And that's one of the first things I do with my students is I give them a learning characteristic assessment where they take an assessment and based off of the answers, it determines if they learn kinesthetically, which is learn by doing, visually by seeing, auditory by listening,
Hearings.
you know. So that's one of the things that I always do. So everybody learns differently. So those classes, those electives are important. And it's a mental break for a lot of students, because we have a lot of artsy students. They're very talented. Some of them draw phenomenally. Some of them play the instrument. Uh, even just working out, going to PE and running and or lifting weights, whatever the school provides for them, is a stress reliever. So those classes are important, and a lot of those teachers are important because you talk to a lot of kids, and I mean, I've had students tell me, Coach, your class was the reason why I came to school. And you saw that. You saw that when you came to the
I
school.
did.
Like a lot of kids will tell teachers who teach, man, your class was the only reason why I came to school. And if you can encourage them through the arts, right, that bleeds over into the other academic classes. But to get back to your question about this bill, I, it's the funny thing is I've spoken to people about this, not just in this community but nationwide, people that I know. A lot of people didn't understand how serious this was because one of the things that I heard them say is, and this is all across the board, most of the people that I spoke with about this bill, especially when it passed, I didn't realize what a big deal this was. You didn't? Wow. Interesting. And I can't knock them for
It's like
that.
the FAFO thing to me.
Yeah, well, and
A
that's the
lot of
thing.
people are about to be impacted
Oh,
educationally, medical
oh
wise.
yeah, a lot. And I'm one of those teachers. I've always provided food for my students. I keep snacks in my class. I have a refrigerator that I provide because a lot of kids come to school. That's the only time some kids eat.
Eat. Yeah.
Whether people want to believe it or not, it's true. And so when you have a bill like that that's freezing money, keeping money out of schools, cutting lunch programs for kids, um, you know, you're robbing them of an opportunity. Um, and once again, People can say it's a conspiracy, whatever they want. I don't care, but I truly believe. Obviously, as I mentioned previously, the lower your education, the higher the crime rate. You take more things out of school, okay? And I even said that I did a speech, billionaires, bills for billionaires, and I mentioned how the current administration, he said he loves the poorly educated.
Educated.
Why? Because the poorly educated are not aware. We're distracted by reality shows, sports, entertainment. So if that keep you distracted, you're distracted from the real issues that are really going on. Like this bill passed, and all I saw on my social media timeline was Puff Daddy stuff, Diddy or whatever. I don't care about that. Diddy don't affect me. What he did was heinous. How he treated those people and subject of people too, that was heinous. But that doesn't affect.
It's not going to take away your Medicaid.
Yeah, it's not going to take care. It's not going to affect schools. Yeah.
Still,
So, but that's all I saw. So the fact is, a lot of people don't want to address that issue. That there are things around us, and I implore people, if you can find it, and it's hella expensive, the Tavistock Institute. I read that book in my 20s, and the Committee of 300. Those are books that talk about how there are certain factions that design society the way it is. Okay? Whether you want to believe it or not, it's right here in our face. I don't care what you believe. It's being shown to you. They're showing you exactly what in 2025.
I was gonna say Project 2025 spelled it out in black and white.
Yeah, they basically said
for any of us.
They basically said what their objective was, and people laughed at it and didn't take it serious. So when you look at this bill and how it cuts out of education, schools are already strapped for cash. So now you may have cutting, teachers may get cut. So that means higher class sizes, right? Schools are going to close down. Well, some districts have already closed down 4 or 5 schools in their district. Kids are going, I know at my school for a couple of years, kids have been able to eat breakfast and lunch for free, thank God. Saves me thousands of dollars a year, But what's going to happen with that? So it's so many things that's happening, like that's going to affect where, even athletics, other curricular activities, what happens when they don't have the money or the funding to hire people to drive buses. My man here that's filming us mentioned how his daughter was at like a theater camp or something. And so, well, what happens to those programs when that money goes? What happened to those programs when they don't have they can't provide the bus drivers or even the program itself, because there's no
one
money
thing
for
they won't get rid of is football, basketball, the ones that are going to drive the bottom line dollar future. Like when you are the pipeline in from high school into colleges of people who are really talented.
Okay, but
they're not going to get rid of that. They're going to get rid of the arts.
Right. I hear you on that, but let's not forget what happened to the football out here in the JUCO systems in Arizona. They cut those programs.
But they still have maybe they
No. They cut those programs, and those junior college programs benefited a lot of young men who probably didn't have the grades to qualify for a Division I school. They were able to go to a junior college, mature, get their grades, and move on to the 4-year university and get their degree or potentially make the NFL. Because you have a lot of NFL guys, if you delve into their history, especially back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, a lot of them went to junior colleges. So,
but I see that the ones that will make money down the line, they're going to make sure those programs are
definitely
the ones that they think are like foo-foo-ish.
Yeah, no, I get
tend to get rid of.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, right. You're definitely right. Athletic programs do bring a lot of money to certain schools, depending on the athletic program.
Depending on the school.
Cool. Yeah. They it brings in money. You know what I mean? And let's face it, America is like a big kid that's getting bigger, but their clothes don't fit anymore.
The clothes are getting tighter.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I was telling a buddy of mine the other day. They like to say on TV, America has prided itself on not being a capitalist society. Huh? America's always been a capitalist society. Right. The way our economy is, right? workers, there are issues in certain districts where they don't have enough workers to do certain things, and people are mad at administration. But it's like, you can't be mad at the administration. You can't make people work. If people don't want to work, they don't want to work. So when you take this funding out, and it really saddens me, right? And I mentioned it before: the people who make these rules and who's passing these laws,
their families,
their family are not impacted directly. Maybe down the road, indirectly, maybe. So you have a lot of these legislators, and I was sitting there thinking about it last night. I was in my kitchen and I was peeling some shrimp, and I was just sitting there thinking about all these people who are making these rules, and I was like, some of these people are just really bad people. Like seriously, like I ran for office, and then I'm going to continue to run for certain offices because I care about people. I don't care your ethnicity. I don't care your social economic status. People, right? People. How are we helping people?
Community.
And the community. And a lot of these politicians, man, they're just not good people. It's like, can you really sit there and look yourself in the mirror? Apparently they can, because they do, and say, I'm going to sign off on this bill, and I know it's going to affect children, elderly, and it's another thing people leave out. When you talk about this bill, and most people, when they hear the Medicare, right, they think senior citizens. Yeah. Well, I got good friends of mine who have autistic children. Yep. They rely on that. They rely on it. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's more than elderly people. You have people that are autistic, are mentally handicapped. What happens to them?
Well, children in foster care get Medicaid, and exactly they won't get it anymore.
Yeah, children in foster care. So this affects a wide variety of people, man, and I don't think people understand that, because some of those people that I just mentioned, the severely autistic children, are the one, they can't work. They can't work. So how are they going to? You know what I mean? Yeah. And I see that in my school, like. And I get it. A lot of people aren't on school campuses. That's what kills me when I hear people talk about what's best for school campuses, and none of them have never stepped foot on a school campus. But, we have 2 rooms on my campus. And in those 2 rooms, those are the kids that are severely handicapped. Like, they're wheelchair, and I'm talking about, like, they're functional. Like, they are really, like, mentally incapacitated. And so, but they still come to school, and we have teachers and staff in there that works with them. But it's like, those kids are on Medicaid.
Yeah.
And now what's going to happen to their family? So it's much more, it's deeper and a lot more convoluted than what people are really looking at this. Yeah, we look at the academic side, but let's just look at this from a human side. Food, health. It's really just setting our society up for failure. And people better get ready. Because understand this, elections have consequences.
Right.
It does.
They do. They always do. One thing I think people need to think about, if the current administration right now is okay with trying to control the most prestigious colleges with funding, because to your point, you said, that if they give you money, then they expect you to do certain things, and they cut the funding when you don't. They're not going to have any problem snatching money and food or whatever out of the hands of people like on the lower level, which they are doing. And you see it in the Arizona legislature as well, with what they're doing and the bills that they've currently passed, where they're kicking people with disabilities. Right. They don't want to pay those families. And so it's like a trickling effect.
And that's something, my nonprofit Back to Basics, I serve veterans, right? It disgusts me how this is the greatest country in the world, how we treat our veterans.
Yeah, my husband's one.
That's right. Yeah. People who serve and fought so we can do the simple, even filming this podcast, or going to Starbucks, or going to a basketball game. Those people are paying the price in blood so we can have these little simple amenities, right, that we enjoy here. And all these people who claim to be patriots, they're patriots, right? They get up here, and so if you're a patriot, you're taking away stuff from people who fought for this country, but you claim to be a patriot? Make it make sense. And so,
or a Christian.
All right.
I, I
Don't
have to
get
say,
me started on that.
we'll talk about that another.
Yeah, I'm an ordained minister. You know, I have my I have my doctoral in ministry. Don't get me started on Christianity and religion. I'm not going to do that today. But and how it, yeah, no, I'm not going to go there. But anyway, um, so there's a lot of different things. But to your point, Arizona, if I'm not mistaken, are we like $28 million right now in deficit? 206 million.
Yeah.
Okay, it was 20. And I noticed I was talking to a representative who I'm really good friends with, and they mentioned 28 million something we're in debt in. So that's the thing, man. Like, but we understand elections have consequences.
And on the education side, we're what, 49?
Yeah, we're 49th
Yeah, on the education
on the
side
educational
in the
side
nation.
in the
So
nation.
let's just put that in perspective.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. So
Okay, well, thank you so much again, Cedric.
no
It's been a
problem.
pleasure having you here,
Thank-
and giving us your insight into the
Yes.
education system here in Arizona and on the big ugly bill. We won't say beautiful. Thank you for joining us today for Around the District. Please like, click, or subscribe, or whatever you do on social media. Find us. Find us, look up. Thank you very much. I'm Nicole Brown, and this is Around the District.